around like a MMO. It was a little bit weird on that front. I think we're getting close towards that champion select, of course. Fearless Draft.
Yes.
Have to keep mentioning it. For the first week, we'll mention it for a little bit more. Fearless Draft is a thing that will apply later into the series. Any champion that has been picked by a team cannot be picked by that same team later into the series. So in Game 2, any picks which is picked by one team cannot be played again. You can pick champions picked by the enemy team. What's going to be taken off the table in this time? A lot of picks which we know have been very successful for JDG, particularly that TF top for Flandre was very, very potent, so they won't have access to that.
Does mean as it stands, Skarner's up and available. We've seen that one get first pick time and time again to often great success, but obviously last series didn't look that hot for Birdall, really struggling to find the impact, but we know exactly how strong that champion can and will be if given the time of day. See if that's what they decide to go towards. Of course, there are other options. The Rumble is up, for example.
Skarner's just too consistent here. I think Skarner does a good thing here for EDG, which is give you a known quantity and stability in a lane which you're not expecting to win. Now, Solokill is not a bad top laner, but he's not Flandre. You have removed one of the better matchups into the Skarner, which is Twisted Fate. Now, Flandre can go towards something like the Rumble if he wants to, but he can also go towards something like the Cassante, just to go tank for tank if he so wishes as well. In terms of the AD carries, there's been a lot of bans towards that, and JDG will choose their pick of the litter here. Maybe Varus Nautilus would be a good pickup for them. Good duo for that.
That's the Varus you were talking about. Certainly very strong. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of the easy, blind pickable flex kind of mid laners the Tristana or the Cork you've been going towards, but Gauss LeBlanc would not be a stranger to the LPL stage. It's certainly a champion he's got a lot of time on. We'll lock it in. Old LeBlanc players feeling pretty happy with the way the champion feels right now, but the response is JJ getting a hold of his Lee Sin. Another champion he's very comfortable on.
Cryan's Annie
alongside it.
Cryan's Annie has actually been very powerful for him. It's been one of his better champions in the mid lane. Cryan is an MSI winning mid laner, same as Yagao. Well, no, actually Yagao has not done that. Apologies on that one. He actually was on the BLG lineup. That came second in that one. But so Cryan is one up to Yagao in that sense. But he has been all over the place, Cryan, but his Annie has been pretty good. On the other side, we did talk about the Rumble being a big top lane pick right now. Does very well into the Skarner. He does very well into most tanks, really. Be interested to see what kind of runes he goes towards. Whether he'll go towards like First Strike farming, or whether he'll go towards like Comet to just dominate lane against Solokill. He's tried to aim for stability.
Let's see what the second phase will be. The ban of the Jhin is an interesting one. We have started to see that come out, especially when you're looking for some of those long-range pick combos. Annie plus Jhin sounds like a really obnoxious CC chain to manage, so they're going to get rid of that option. The Ashe and the Senna already gone as well. Two champions that Leave and Wink both pretty happy on, so they're continuing to pinch down on some of the AD carry options, whereas it's more of the jungle focus from EDG.
Yeah, JJ was, on previous iterations of the EDG lineup, really the driving force. This guy, of course, stepped out for Monkey, who was from the LDL team. And Monkey did a fine job, but that team, I think, was really never destined to succeed. And I think that JJ having a step back maybe helped him kind of regroup himself mentally, too, on the other side. Kanavi, one of the best junglers to ever touch the game on the other side, too. JJ is a world champion, though, so he's definitely been up there on the upper echelons. What's he going to pick into that Lee Sin? He already has a lot of magic damage on his solo laners. He's not going to be going towards a farming jungler of the AP variety, which we've talked an awful lot in the meta with LPL so far. Instead, he wants something that can set up for them. I like the Vi if it goes through. Really good ability to go Varusol, Vial, all on top of the Rumble.
The combo, dangerous to manage. You've got yourself a good combo there with the pick, but the response will be the Kai'Sa, something Lee's very happy with. Add in the Rel. The pick into Kai'Sa is the aim of the game.
So I think that you're likely to have a very bad losing lane here as EDG. What that means is that you're likely looking at a lane swap coming through from EDG, I think, in the first stages of the game. You want to make sure this Kai'Sa can survive through to a couple of levels. Level 1 Kai'Sa is not very strong right now, especially against the Varus. So you're expecting something that can dominate the laning phase from JDG. That can kind of punish that Kai'Sa when it comes towards it. They lock in missing Alistar, one of his best champions there. I think what they're saying is that, look, if you want to avoid the lane, I'm going to have something that will be more useful on the roam as well.
Combos galore for JDG. They can certainly get a lot of those pick options off, and if they can look to wheeled the Varus into that Kai'Sa. They're feeling pretty happy about it. But you're right, I think EDG will be looking for that lane swap where they can. It feels like the Skarner probably going to be okay in a lane swap scenario, you'd imagine.
Yeah, Skarner is just very easy to keep alive on the weak side. The tanks tend to be good in lane swap. So, I am expecting a lane swap to come through. If it isn't a lane swap, things are going to go badly, because Rumble into that Skarner is going to hurt. The Varus into the Kai'Sa is going to hurt. You need to see EDG get good level 1 vision to make sure they can secure that. Otherwise, JDG will have a very good setup. And even if they don't get that lane swap, I think there are some powerful combinations to play through from JDG when they can land a Skarner or the Vi into huge follow-up after that point. So it's not like EDG are going to be smooth sailing beyond that point. They need the lane swap. They need to avoid the picks and make sure they can get some AoE engage of their own.
That is perhaps easier said than done sometimes. Of course, they have both got very good pick options. It's just more about getting to the point where they can use them. And I think the side of JDG, we've kind of highlighted it. On paper, assuming the lanes stay stable, they're the ones who have got the theoretical better laning phase. But we've seen best laid plans of mice and men fall apart before.
Very poetic of you. That is actually the rookie LeBlanc Chroma from the IG as well on this one from that. So, for those of you that don't know, there was some special 10th anniversary of the LPL Chromas released for a lot of the different champions there. They were basically given out to their top 10 LPL players of all time, as voted on by a panel of experts and players, both current and former pros. Yugao might jump over the wall here. They do catch the leave out just a little bit, and they proc first strike on Yugao. I'll be happy with that one. Worth noting that Ruler has not gone towards the first strike himself, instead going towards the on-hit press the attack version. No lethal tempo left in the game anymore.
PTA, though, has become a bit more of a selfish rune anyway. Obviously, with the fact that you're no longer amping for other players, it's mainly amping yourself. Still feels like a pretty okay replacement for lethal tempo, just like perhaps mitigate some of those really nasty lethal tempo abusers. Looking at you, Yone. Looking at you, Varus.
Well, also it applied a lot to champions like Varus and the Callisto as well, though. Because the thing is, even though press the attack evens out in terms of the damage that you do, so what happens to the press the attack now, by the way, is that once you proc it on a target, it doesn't give extra damage to that target from all sources. It just ups your damage against everything against all sources. Well, we do have that lane swap coming through. We talked about that being a likelihood. We have the level 1 invade coming through, and we're going to go see that Kai'Sa Rel going towards the top side. JDG, you should have known this was happening from draft. Missing is going to go see if he can steal anything away from JDG. Can't manage to do so.
How much XP has Flandre managed to get? Not loads and loads.
He's managed to get 1 minion, that's it.
Yeah, I was like, he did get a little bit of time now. I wondered whether he might get a bit more access, but no. Still going to be stuck with very limited CS and experience, so we'll swiftly decide the better part of Valor is discretion. Max out of that lane for now.
Cryan is also taking that first strike, so both these mid laners are going to be trading through on that one. See if Yugao can ever get to that point where he can kind of force Cryan to take a trade while he's auto-attacking a minion, so he doesn't get that first strike back. It's one thing you can do with the LeBlanc and the Annie with these two runes, because, of course, first strike disables after you've been if someone initiates combat to you first and damages you a little bit there, too. Yugao doing fine in this laning phase so far. You see that Cryan about to get that stun up. JJ walking into the enemy side of the jungle, but will be spotted out by some good defensive vision coming in from JDG. Thing is, you're still fine to do this, because the Vi, and again, I always shout out Gilius when this happens, because he's the one which I really listened to a lot when it came to this. Vi is not a champion before level 3.
It's awful. Yeah.
You need your full set of abilities to unlock your W as well more easily in terms of hitting your W, your Q into your E reset. It gives you so much to work with. But until you hit level 3, you're just not a champion. So if you can do level 1 lane swaps like this into early invades, you are going to get some extra value out of that. So intelligent from EDG to go towards that. I've got to say, though, I feel like this is a pretty obvious early play to go towards, and the fact that Flandre is now going to be missing out on so much XP feels like JDG did not plan well for this level 1 invade.
No, not necessarily, but they are holding on well enough, and at least Kanavi is trading over on the red buff, and you're playing towards Ruler, which is always a positive if you're a JDG fan, so you get that one as Yugao. Chains a minion. Well, we won't comment on that one too much. It's fine.
Look, folks, your goat works in many wondrous and mysterious ways. Sometimes he randomly dies to top lane out of turrets for free. It's just part of the gig here. So we're getting a return back to normal lanes now. We have the level 3 hit from Leave, which means he's more able to survive this early laning phase, hasn't had to blow an early potion or a biscuit or something like that. Typically in lane swaps like this, you are just looking to get to level 3 on your duo lane if you were afraid of the level 1 on the other side.
Na'Vi continuing to do those little invade things you can do. Gets rid of the mini Krugs as well. Feeling pretty happy about that. Steps on forwards as you go, but eats a stun courtesy Anivy. The Disintegrate and the Incinerate. I never will remember which way round they are. Which one is the Disintegrate? Which one's the Incinerate?
Incinerate is the Q. I think Disintegrate is the E, and you have the Molten Shield on your W as well. And then you got Tibbers on your roll. I think it's that way.
Is W the shield? I thought it was E that was the shield.
Pretty sure it's the W that's the shield, and E is the AoE stun from last time. Look, dude, I don't play much Annie. I didn't listen to the LS School of Thought enough on that one, I suppose, to learn how to play that champion. But yeah, I guess so now we have the lane swap completed. Let's have a think about what that means. XP slightly in favor of Ruler over Leave, but still you've escaped the first 2 levels. That's good for the bot lane. Solo Kill has more XP than Flandre, though. And we did say that if it came down to regular lanes, both top lane and bot lane would have been in a bad state from EDG. I think they've actually managed to escape the early lane very well against these champions from JDG. Yes, you will see a slight gold advantage on the top of the table, top of the board from this. Partly, I think that's just through the first strike coming from Yagao a little bit more consistently, and then a couple of small farm advantages here and there too. I think even with that, though, EDG surviving on both sides of the map is a big win for them.
Yeah. I did go check, by the way. Yeah. I was right. He's on the shield.
Oh, well, I'm wrong then. Yay!
Yay! Hooray! Yeah, I get to feel superior for about 10 seconds.
Dude,
and then...
you can take your Annie knowledge and do whatever the heck you want with it. I'm sure they'll make you very happy.
Yeah, and also I learned that Disintegrate is the Q and W is the Incinerate.
Did you? Well, I knew that. All right, damn. Well, I got that wrong too. Well, Flandre down in XP a little bit. Also going to get forced into a bad position here, and he's just going to die.
That's such a nice combo. Well played from JJ and Solo Kill to punish the Rumble.
Folks, this is a very important moment now, because we already said Solo Kill had escaped that early laning phase, was XP up. Flandre has used his teleport, and he's going to miss a bit of this wave, at least in towards top side as well on that side. Feels like EDG have really managed to save Solo Kill in this top side with the early game, but I feel like, again, if we can tell that so obviously from our position here watching on stream, they've got to know this. They have to know this in game, and I feel like not being able to protect Flandre as he's pushing in this wave, this is a big mistake from JDG. You got to call it out. We said, hey, we're excited to see what this team can do with Warhorse coming in as the new coach as well. Things didn't work out with Martha. Maybe Warhorse can make it work. This early game has not been well planned so far.
No, it's been a little bit awkward. And Flandre is like, I need to kill these 2 minions. The wave goes into it's not frozen against me. This is a disaster. And he gets punished on that time. And that's credit to JJ and Solo Kill for doing that. But there's not a lot Flandre gets to say there, because he can't not push that wave in, or it's a bit doomed.
Yeah, no, this is one of the things which veteran top laners will tell you. It's an Odo Omne special. Ebby would do it sometimes too, if those of you remember when he was playing in LEC, and of course over in the LGL too. Sometimes you got to die for a wave. Flandre can't leave that lane there. He's got to get something out of it. It's just a shame that he gets punished for it. It really is. Realistically, it's on Kanavi to be there. Flash forward, rather away from missing. Didn't want to get caught out by that one. Maybe thought that JJ was closer than he actually is in reality, but of course he doesn't know. He doesn't have the vision from that. Now they're walking in. Kanavi is hit, is level 6. Both junglers have hit that one. Very dangerous. The W doesn't spot them either.
I think they might have spotted JJ just recalling this. They don't want to take the 3v3 as it stands. Especially without the flash on the Alistair, might be just a little bit too risky. Instead, we are back to a holding pattern. Gold is pretty much dead even. It's really the grubs that are the difference maker, plus the first blood, of course, going towards JJ, which does feel pretty good. But it's incremental laning leads for mid and bot, which feel pretty good for JDG, and keeping that gold pretty much on the even path.
And again, real credit to EDG, a team which struggled is an understatement in spring. It's a good early game, and I think that JJ, alongside the rest of the team, have come out with a good early plan. EDG, about midway through spring last year, were actually the best team in the LPL, by the way, for those of you that didn't catch 2023 regular season. And not that I blame you folks, there's a lot of games to go watch there. But I think a lot of that was basically through JJ being a one-man army. He was absolutely fantastic at leading the team to a lot of winning situations. And if he's coming in with a head of steam, and he gets to pick up some momentum and a good read on the meta, he can do some fantastic stuff. He is one of the best junglers within the LPL. I think Kanavi versus JJ, that is such an important thing. Crying going forwards!
That's the kind of combo they're looking for, but a fantastically timed Pulverize makes this pretty tricky. Cryin stays alive for now. Turret shot goes flying onto the Tibbers. Everyone stays alive, just about.
Just about. If missing doesn't cancel out that Lee Sin Q, things go worse from there. He didn't have his level 6 yet. He couldn't go into the proper damage reduction form. He gets away with that one for free. But again, JJ comboing up well with his teammates. What's the cost of that? It's a flash and an ult from Cryan. You'd really like to have the flash bear. But he already had... He did, I think before that play, he already had his tier 2 boots for the extra summoner cooldown reduction on those Ionian boots of Lucidity. So it's not going to be the longer cooldown of the flash, at least. It will have some extra cooldown reduction on that one. But nonetheless, it's an important tool that's missing now.
Na'Vi taking away the Scuttle Crab, and haven't really seen them pull an ultimate yet. We'll find JJ, but it does feel like EDG have been the ones making the proactive plays so far.
Yeah, it
might be a change of that.
His time is not now. He needs to be doing it when his damage is nearby. Leave taking some good damage down there as well. Remember that this Kai'Sa has survived the early few levels as well. The fact that Kai'Sa is only 10 CS down against a Varus and isn't down into XP, well, he's down like a half a level, but it could be worse. Ooh, Yagao's not going to have his return point anymore. It's going to disappear.
That's a dangerous position. It's going to have the passive pop. They choose the wrong option. Cryan just stacks up his passive off the LeBlanc clone.
And he does, and he'd completely fine on that one. Yagao starting to get burst out a little bit. Doesn't have his own Mercury's treads himself yet. Very important point in this matchup against the Annie is going towards Merc treads in a lot of different cases. Just to make sure that no one else can combo in on top of their very quick snap engages, even if it is often tied to a flash timing as well. So, items starting to come in across the board. We're getting towards that Blade the Ruin King from Ruler. Again, he is on the on-hit version. It is not the easiest game to play on hit, but with the amount of CC available, he can definitely cut through the Skarner. One of the things that we saw, particularly in Spring, and towards last Worlds as well, is that if you go towards poke variants of AD carries, you don't kill tanks very well. This is why we're seeing the on-hit here as well. EDG now going up towards those grubs. They're going to be looking to get themselves that might buff. They'll be able to get that one. And JDG, it feels like they are biding their time. This is a classic from JDG. Wait until they have their items. They're level 6s and see if they can go.
Missing has got the level 6 available, so can begin to make his will truly unbreakable. But everyone's here. Begin the fight has. We'll make this more of a Yoda as the Clone Wars, making this an episode 2 of the day. Ruler low, Ruler dead. The turnaround solid onto Cryan, but the damage in many ways already done. Kanavi now running away from Tibbers. Garbs secured. That is 6 for EDG in a 1-for-1 fight.
Now, for those of you that were watching last split and saw the Doom Squad in action from EDG as they fell to the bottom of the standings, this game gives you a good look at how JJ used to play here. JJ has been really leading the charge here with the early game, with the early picks as well. Such an important player for EDG when he's on form. Fantastic moment for him to get that kill onto Ruler and set up EDG for success.
Flandre equalizing the wave to prevent too much more damage going on to that tier 1 top side, but I think the burn might have been enough to get another play anyway. But 6 grubs is going to be so frustrating to manage.
Yeah, that's a really big
especially when they're already ones making the plays.
Yeah, and I think particularly when they have this Lee Sin, who is ahead of this early game as well, you can kind of push into one side of the map effectively. If they can get the Herald and push in with 6 grubs, that's going to be a big win condition for them. They don't necessarily have a dedicated split pusher, but while the plates are still up, being able to use them to take down some extra plates on this top side, giving gold over to the Kai'Sa, who's going to be very scary in this game, who can kind of reposition away from the Alistar and onto a more squishy target. That can be such an important moment. Lever's not had a fantastic showing within the LPL. He's not really had the chance to with the squad that he's been on. He's been dipping in and out and been subbed in back and forth. He's had some poor performances. Game like this, though, on a Kai'Sa, ahead in gold. This mechanical prodigy we've heard of from the LDL, and we've seen him occasionally in the LPL. Maybe he can make something work beyond this. JJ, fantastic pinpoint kick just on the edge of range onto Ruler. I think Ruler really disrespects his positioning. I don't know what JDG's positioning is here. They're split along the wall of the Herald Baron pit. Feels like they just weren't prepared for that. I'm not going to say this is unusual for JDG with the Yagao iteration of this roster, which used to be the case back in 2022 and before. They were sometimes slow to start, and they'd wait until this one big cataclysmic fight mid-game, but they'd fall apart up until that point at some points too. Feels like we've returned back to that again.
But there you go, is currently leading the player gold. It's got most CS in the game. First strike value pretty huge, just picks up some Merc Treads and a Luden's Companion. So actually at this point, Yagao pretty strong actually on the LeBlanc, especially once the level 11 comes through, very close to that as well. And that LeBlanc will begin to be a serious threat if you can combo that up with Kanavi.
I find it so funny looking at the first tower win percentage, 36%. Yeah, EDG did win a lot, folks, in back in spring. So all of their stats are going to look a little ropey. before they get to even out a little bit more in the split. Hopefully for them anyway. So, Ruler, need to see what he can do as well in this game. He has no flash. I think that Ruler has really struggled in Spring himself, comparative to when he was looking like the best player in the world last year in 2023. Feels like he has been caught out an awful lot in 2024 without the peeling solo laners that did so well for him.
Solo kill did not enjoy the damage there from Yagao's built. The Spectral Coward, it just doesn't matter. The 2-level disadvantage gets the chain regardless of the flash. That's another route. Gets the stun off. The Impale doing some work. It's not going to be enough, though, and Yagao secures a solo kill. Sort of.
Secures a solo kill. Hang on, wait a minute. Something else has happened there. As I see you've played Knifey Spoony before. Either way, Kanavi doesn't have to use the ult in that play, but EDG do get themselves the Herald. So, EDG, we said, very important. If they could get Herald, they can push him with a 6 scrub buff, and that can be a big win for them. But JDG, they realize they don't want to play in the grouped up fight. They get themselves gold onto Yagao's LeBlanc, who you already said is ahead of the game. He might just be able to assassinate his way through to a power point for JDG.
He will be tasked with managing some of these side lanes. LeBlanc, a very slippery customer. Just doesn't have the grubs to work with, which would be a little bit frustrating. But nonetheless, they can do some work there.
I want to address something because I'm seeing a lot of this as well being said in chat as well. So it's like, why are JDG not looking for fights? If you are familiar with 2023 JDG, I understand this perspective because I think JDG of last year with their super team and the Golden Road hopefuls, they did find a lot more fights at that point as they missed a ward there. It's kind of unfortunate. If you look at how they played when they played with Yagao back in 2022 and before that as well, and then coming into spring here as well, they were a team that would wait and sit and try and be disciplined up until they found a good opportunity. They wouldn't necessarily throw themselves at the wall. They played much more for mid to late game plays. Winkle finally find themselves that pink ward there as well as they had tracked around that point. But this is more typical of what we saw JDG from before 2023.
And even then, spring of 2023, when EDG were arguably the best in the league, people think JDG were the best team for all of last year, and actually they were kind of second best to EDG for large portions of that spring split until playoffs really rolled around. JDG did play a little slower at the beginning of the year, and it was only as they really came into their own and began running people over from that kind of mid-game on that we started to see them get confident and commanding in the way they played the game. But Wink, not gonna face check there. I got a little bit nervous.
Let's have a look at our objective timers. Dragon in a minute. Baron, of course, down as well. Herald Pun in this mid lane, and they have the 6 grubs. Can they take the full turret? If they can take the full turret, huge win for EDG, but without everyone grouped up here, it's a little unlikely.
A lot of mites.
A lot of mites and good damage on tower. Potential of a teleport behind them, and here comes Yagao. Can't find himself an angle over that wall, though. They're trying to defend. He doesn't have that teleport. Or he didn't use that teleport. He still has it. That's the one, how it goes. Dragon has now spawned. Yagao pushed in that bot side. Good entrance from that bot side of the map. What else can JDG do? They've defended the turret for now. EDG needs to be careful of this objective setup. I think JDG are spoiling for a fight.
Yagao was a known quantity, and that control ward has done so many wonders. Yagao not really finding the flank angle they were hoping for. On the other side, Jisha tries to get onto Kanavi. Won't get the value they're exactly hoping for, but doesn't have to burn something too crazy yet. Missing goes forward, but only really hits Wink, who's got Aftershock rolling. Now gets the Pulverize off. Look for Flandre, who now in position and can look for the Equalizer. Missing's ult now pop. The Unbreakable will give Alistair a moment of unparalleled tankiness, but it's off.
So JDG, I think they really just want to defend their mid turret here. They're happy to give over a dragon. They have 2 early ones. They don't need to fight for the 3rd one. They can wait and stall, which is kind of what they've been doing anyway. So sadly for all you folks out there, we want to see some more blood. Not just yet. EDG, they will get themselves the dragon. That's good for them. They don't want to be giving over an Ocean Soul, particularly to the likes of the Alistair or even Yagao, who can go and poke, hop out, get all that HP back. But while this is happening, if you've been listening to our cast recently, you might be getting sick of us saying, but why are 2 dragons early important? It's because you can do stuff like this. Go to a side lane instead of fighting for that dragon. Yagao gets even more gold for himself while EDG pile up around that dragon. EDG are not farming all 3 lanes. They're farming just a couple of them. JDG get more gold from this, and they get the tower as well, but they do give up that dragon.
Oh, 1.6 gold ahead. 1.6k. Not just 1.6 individual gold.
So much gold.
What a gold lead. 1.6k ahead individually as Yagao playing out super well. Has now got a Horizon focus way ahead of schedule. It's LeBlanc all about those kind of poke trades now.
And I think as soon as you can't find the initial entrance into this fight from Yagao and missing, JDG, they shouldn't be looking for a fight after this point. They've used that big ticket ultimate of that Alistair. That's one of the most important tools they have. It feels like Alistair in a composition like this, can break open the game by just standing in the front line and buying time in a way that no other support can. So once that ult has been used more cheaply, I think JDG are more likely to back her from the fight all the same. So we have ourselves a slower game yet again. JDG, they've broken open both side lane outer turrets. We've seen it's been quite hard to get towards mid lane and outer turret, though, from what we've seen recently, though, in a couple of these games. Feels like JDG very happy to just keep farming 3 lanes, getting the gold where they can, not letting EDG get this early grouped up fight with the Lee Sin's early power.
I know we had this discussion off stream probably a month or so ago, basically about, yo, how does LeBlanc feel with Horizon Focus? And obviously, max range, like, QR feels pretty good.
With the
but I feel like the change could be pretty valuable, yeah.
From the change from... It used to be 700 activation range, now it's 600, which means you can get it okay. Also means you just get more cooldown reduction in your build, which is less typical for LeBlanc now. You sometimes have to wait until 3rd item when you get a Crypt Bloom to get some extra cooldown reduction. Very important towards that LeBlanc, so I don't mind it as much. It's not necessarily the highest burst option, but particularly against a team like this, we need to hop away from the Annie and then hop in before she has her stun back up. It's quite important, actually, in this case, so I don't mind it here.
It adds value to the chains, I suppose, well, in a side lane, which can be pretty scary with the LeBlanc getting ahead. You know, you've got value from it. As of course, we are so used to other builds, but we'll have to talk about that a little later as Flandre finds himself on the wrong end of a teleport, and once again, Rumble caught shoving, and EDG punished with a very strong CC chain.
And that's the difficulty of playing towards these side lanes when there are good engage options on the other side. Now, Flandre's going to die, but doesn't blow flash, has the teleport anyway. I don't think that EDG can force Baron in a quick enough time to to guarantee a 5v4 while Flandre isn't alive. So JDG, it's a bit of a slip up. We did say that they were looking towards getting as much gold as they can in those side lanes, but it's not going to be a cataclysmic mistake at least.
Yeah, and of course, still flash, still teleport, still ult, as you were kind of noting. So it is really just the pick. And of course, Cry and Burn in the teleport could be problematic theoretically for playing out those side lanes. And they're going to go very deep onto Leave. The Magnustorm afterwards is good. They cannot get the kill. And Leave is still alive. JDG pulled the trigger in the most bizarre of circumstances and lose their jungler. And now solo kill tunnels through a wall and the Scorpion is on to missing.
What are we doing, folks? This is like what happens in like Dune Part 2, where like everything's normal, and you just take a sip of the juice which makes you worse, and then everything goes to shit. What are they doing? They just needed to play safe. They were stalling. They didn't want to pick fights. They throw themselves at the AD carry, and they are left in the dust. EDG looking towards a Baron.
Never drink the Dune Kool-Aid, and it's got a giant purple wound. Shai Hulud going down. Yagao gets one though, and the fight commences. Maybe the Muad'Dib had it right all along. That was the play to make, but no, it's all gone wrong. Solo kill goes down. And they get a couple kills, but Baron is dead. Can JDG hunt for more kills?
We'll see if I think Leave can get the recall. We'll see. Yagao, what's his cooldowns looking like? You can see there's a Baron buff in here, and he doesn't get him. It's only the 2 kills from EDG. If they killed Leave, that would have been a huge moment for them. JDG at least managed to clear up some kills around the Baron, but after again, spotting that vision of a golden road, which slipped it slipped away from them last year. They've got a bit of an awkward relationship with that one. What the heck happened here? They go towards Leave, they get themselves the ult onto him, but they just misplay around where Wink is going. They clump up for the rel. Wink, of course, the new support coming in from EDG was Invictus Gaming last split, saves his AD carry, at least missing, manages to buy enough time for JJSQ to run off of Yagao so that he doesn't go down either as easily there. Gonna go back to live soon though. Baron buff still up for EDG. Dragon spawning just now.
If Wink hadn't been there, I think Leave probably dies to Yagao's first.
So. But Sam, he was there.
He was there. The juice was drunk. Don't drink the bad juice.
Oh, God, 100%. So, we see that the Dragon's taken in picture-in-picture. We saw this fight already, and you can see that. The amount of damage which JDG has is actually very high right now, particularly if you're turning onto that Baron and using cooldowns to on the Baron rather than onto the enemy champions. JDG have some options. You go on the flank. Again, they're not... Of course, the Dragon's already down. JDG falling behind in gold now too.
Rage Blade completed for Ruler at this point. Of course, 2.5 items for Yagao. You've still got some points of power for JDG, but this gold lead with the Grubs, with the Baron, should begin to expand, courtesy some strong investments in big purple worms from EDG.
Yeah, dude, I don't know how many G references I've got. I mean, there's, how do I fit Duncan, Idaho into this somehow? And then just keep referencing Duncan, Idaho as it just keeps coming back again and again.
Oh, just start calling people the young pup was my personal favorite. Have you watched the David Lynch version with
it's
Patrick
got David
Stewart
Bowie in as well, isn't it? Does that have it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
He's the kind of psycho knife wielding champion of the Emperor.
Cool. Fade Arthur.
Yeah.
Cool. That's nice. I like that. Well, may thy knife chip and shatter as well as JDG's did as they went
Good
towards
reference, son.
I like that. It's cool. That's one of the cooler lines from that. But either way,
There's the Mind Killer was always my favorite.
There are some good ones, but either way, like JDG, it's not just shattered. This is like way beyond the shards of Narsil now. This is the point where they're trying to pick up last bits of this ore lying around as things fell apart from them. They're not going to be as easily able to play towards side lanes against this Baron buff. It has just, of course, ran out, but the extra golden pocket means that Leave is now on 3 items. If you let this Kai'Sa free hit, you are going to lose fights now.
Yeah, I think that's getting increasingly tricky. And of course, with this build as well, I think you go towards a Crit Bloom 4th. You hit all the major upgrades. You do a lot of on-hit damage. Your W's then online for the late game as well. So you actually have some solid poke. You could look at something like even a Death Cap last if it gets that late. This kind of path from the Kai'Sa feels so good in terms of when you're using your various strengths as champion.
Okay, so what else have we got to check in now? 3 items we already called out on the Kai'Sa, 3 items on the LeBlanc. We already talked about the Crit Bloom earlier, giving an extra cooldown reduction too. So Yagao in a point of power, lots of ability, lots of mobility. They're going towards the side lane. No one to save him this time. Teleport.
There's a teleport. He's so tanky. Oh no!
And this is the second big profile, high visibility moment where Kanavi and Yagao jump forwards and they are punished. Crying, the MSI winning mid laner, lest we forget, outplaying Kanavi and Yagao on the Vi LeBlanc. This combo has not been clean from JDG.
You can't see me right now, but I am looking like that very famous painting by Edvard Munchables, Scream.
I love how that guy is actually called Munchables way. I may have had a laugh at Joe about that on the LPL cast a little earlier, but still,
it's excellent.
EDG, credit to them for taking the opportunities thrown at them. Cryan, underneath that turret, stands by the wall, makes the engage range a little harder, gets the stun onto Kanavi, even though it goes through it with the ult. The damage is there, the Malignance is cooking him, and Kanavi completely blasted apart.
Oh boy, and at this point, the Annie's actually semi-tanky. Level 15 with a little bit of HP build, gets a big double stun. Yeah, that was an experience for the family.
Right, so Dragon spawning in about a minute on both of the big objectives, actually. So, big damage up on Flandre too, though. Riftmaker built up. This makes it easier for him to kind of burn down solo kill in that 1v1. Flandre's not really been the Rumble of legend we've seen from other players. Ala particularly had a fantastic game on this. Feels like JDG, again, they're looking for the miracle pick. They can still do it. Thing is, they've failed this big combo from the Vi LeBlanc a couple of times. All it has to do is work once. EDG have to get lucky every time. JDG just have to get lucky once. And if they manage to catch Leave, they manage to catch out, maybe even JJ, things can fall apart. Yagao has the damage for it. He's still very strong. Yes, Crying got a big amount of gold, and he's evened up the gold share with Yagao. The throw-out in LeBlanc must be fearful of it.
Still going to be very scary. And of course, the Riftmaker completed for Flandre as well to add a little bit of bruiseriness towards this Rumble who's been tasked with side laning against quite a lot of pick. So you understand the decision making, but it does feel like JDG have really struggled to make use of Yagao's power and strength that he did have. He's gone from being ahead that, nearly 2,000 gold to being dead even again, which feels very disappointing from JDG's end, I'm sure.
Yeah, because this is the combo they kind of stalled out and tried to play around side lanes with, but they've been answered at every beck and call so far. Also feel like missing on the Alistar. It felt like this pick could have been game-changing, but he's not really managed to be that annoying, roaming, or have team fight frontlining Alistar in the same way. Ruler result, very quiet game. He had a lot of quiet games in spring too. It's one of the reasons why JDG don't look like the 23 JDG. A lot of that's because of the solo lanes, the way that they don't really play towards peeling for their AD carry in quite the same way. Knight and 369 some of the very best of all time at trying to play towards that. And now we get towards this dragon. It would be sole point for EDG. JDG are not in position to contest this. And
they don't want to, I don't think.
For those who are here for the bloodshed of the LPL that we know and love, we're not getting it right now because JDG have once again said, look, we got the 2 early dragons, we're just trying to stall, wait for a better option. I feel like they've had a couple of very awkward decisions, though, which were not good options themselves, and they've thrown themselves into a deficit.
When they've tried to pull the trigger, it felt like they were on, you know, like, Rust trying to pull off a 360 no-scope, you know? It's like, let me style on these fools, and then it all goes wrong. And the clip goes on YouTube, and it's over. You're TikTok famous for all the wrong reasons.
Do you watch any of the Chinese League of Legends TikToks with the impossible combos,
so good.
like the 24-button combos? Fantastic. It's where you have, like, used to have, like, Prowler's Claw, Proto Belt builds. Fantastic. Anyway, Baron's going down. JDG are forcing it, and you can see that Yagao hovering around the sides. I don't think JDG really want to finish. Well, no, they're just flipping it. Yes, of course they are.
Of course, JJ's trying to get in, gets the flash and a Q, can try and get to the pit. It's gone, not going to get there. Missing does a great job of keeping JJ out of the pit, but what about the fight afterwards? Solo kill, gets a slow onto Yagao, who hops over the distortion. The Egg Styles impact comes on forwards Yagao, knocked away, but not that far. The turnaround damage begins to be huge. Wink, blinks, he's down in the ground. Now solo kill, once again falls down. Ruler picks up a double, he's involved with a fight. JDG get Baron, JDG get 2, and JDG are right back in it.
And that fight is what we were asking for from the Alistair. Missing keeps JJ away, buys enough time, and JDG, despite fumbling all their other plays, what do we say? EDG have to get lucky every time. JDG just have to get lucky once. They get a kill, they get Baron. This should be the moment where their composition comes online. The Baron buff was harder to use from EDG because they didn't have winning side lanes. Now JDG get to walk forwards with the Vi and the LeBlanc and the Rumble pushing in waves so quickly. This Baron buff should be much more deadly. Look how missing plays this though. Flash, headbutt, full CC onto this. There's no chance of JJ with his own flash away from Alistair getting in towards the steal. Credit to him for trying that one. It was the way into the pit. And then look at this. Feels like EDG are just way out of position. I mean, Leaf's not in position here. Leaf can't follow up with the fight. I don't think this was a good engage by Wink. I think he overplays it. Really, really big support difference in that play.
Wink gets a very minimal Magnet Storm, and then after he dies, solo kill is left very deep and no real way out of the creek he found himself up in. And JDG were very happy to hand him the paddle. Instead, we now look towards the mid lane where JDG begin to siege again. And now you've got a LeBlanc who's already giga-fed, split pushing on one lane, and everyone else on JDG in the mid. Difficult position now for EDG, and there's an LPL gold graph if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's Mount JDG, I guess. We'll call that one. It was reaching up towards the heavens itself. JDG, yeah, I wish I could say this wasn't typical of a Gao-type JDG. We saw this for years before 2023. We saw it earlier in 2024. Sometimes they just look for that big play. Solo kills, teleporting for a flank, but he's CC'd himself. How much can he get hit?
The equalizer wasn't fantastic, but it slows people down enough that the teleport doesn't amount to all that much. And all the while, Yagao's just split pushing away. That's the inhibitor turret down.
And JDG, they managed to survive the teleport flank. They break open the base towards that bot side. It's not the breaking of the base entirely, but this is why we said EDG, they struggle to use their own Baron buff because their composition makes it harder to push in the map and siege down the towers in the way that they want to. JDG can split push their way towards this as to 20 seconds with that last remaining Baron buff. You got once again on a side lane, and EDG without that teleport now for a big flank.
He teleported back in, so I'm assuming an item completion, probably something like a death cap. There it is.
There we go.
So there you go. I thought that'd be worth keeping our eyes on. This LeBlanc, it's kind of gone from being just an annoyance, throwing out poke combos here and there, to being a real burst threat again.
And there is always that break point with the LeBlanc, particularly the LeBlanc. Sometimes it's with Zoe as well, and other champions which are kind of like poke, but also AP assassins once they get past a certain point. Because it's less than, you know, it goes from being 30% of your HP to being all of your
60.
HP at some point.
Exactly.
It really can be that massive. Yagao, he has been given a lot of time, a lot of resources. Let's see if he can close out the game with it. Right here, as you said, the equalizer, it's not necessarily the best damaging one, but it just slows the engage. Wink doesn't have flash. If Wink is there and not slowed down, maybe he can catch someone out on the back of that play and he can combo up with solo kill. The equalizer stops that from being the place. You go on Fog of War, not on Vision just yet. Huge items, as we said. He does get to the point now where he might just get blasted if he gets caught in CC. He needs to be careful, but in the same point, EDG cannot let him full combo anyone.
Got Merc Treads in a dream, and of course, if you can find the angles, it's all well and good, but doesn't have a Banshee's Veil or anything like that to make it a safe prospect to step forward, so has to be a little bit wary, and they know where he is now, and it's going to be Solo Kill who'll be body blocking him, who is by far the best choice at this point.
JJ's going into the Alistair. I don't think that's the target he wants.
Not awful, though. The turnaround is good. Kanavi's dead, even through the ultimate. But the equalizer is brutal. Leave, still free firing, still autoing. And again, the Icathian Rain burns through 2. All the while, though, Gao says, enough of that. I want this inhibitor. We're not winning the fight. We have to give up Soul, but I need to get something.
Yeah, but the front line is now gone from JDG. Solo Kill doesn't have teleport. Yagao can make it to the fight a little quicker than he can. Yagao might be able to catch someone in the retreat, but here we go. EDG going again.
They land the W. That can mean the Void Seeker allows a crash on down from Wink, but there's no ultimate yet from Leaf, so it doesn't matter all that much. Flandre burning down. Chains of Corruption come through afterwards. Ruler gets, actually, JJ there, which could prove interesting as it's about a minute or so until Baron, so spot of time to potentially set up for that Baron later on.
What a weird series of players. Yagao commits to the split push, but they give up Ocean Soul for it. Maybe they think that Yagao can do so much damage that the regen won't matter as much. It's going to matter a lot to JJ, Solo Kill particularly, and also Wink too, because they're tanky and they'll be able to get some good regen out of it. Yagao jumps forward again, finds Leave with the chain, but can't connect it. One of the changes to LeBlanc is that if someone leaves your chain range, it immediately pops down. It's much better at tracking that. Yagao could have flashed forward to guarantee that chain. Would have been huge.
Have a lot of mana though, and there was still the cleanse, the flash, the ult. I think if you didn't kill them there in the initial proc there, it's going to be very difficult. Still, you can see what Yagao was looking for. He hopped over the wall and then Leave left by the other side of the lane. Yagao kept looking, goes back and buys a Medjais, knows what he needs to do. The book is in. Thing is, Medjais is very good post 10 stacks. And it's very good when you get it earlier in the game to snowball off of it and get huge value. It's not great late game, because you don't get all of that value at the time where you want to get that first kill. You get your value midway through a fight. And again, I am a bit of a Medjais connoisseur, so I'm tracking this one. Never heard that before.
Medjais is best as a second item. It is at its worst when you buy it very late into the game. Baron has spawned. Yagao's going to have it anyway. We'll see what can happen around this Baron. It is getting shredded. AP Kaiser does a lot of damage. Down to 2/3. Make that a half already. Kaiser is shredding it. The engage happens, but it's only onto Solo Kill, who takes next to no damage. The Magna Storm afterwards is good. Wink going low, but the value is still huge. Baron down. Kick over the wall. Kanavi alive, though. Leaf finally goes over with the ultimate, but he means he's not in the fight. The Kaiser can't help. They're not there. Leaf left to kill Kanavi, and it means the rest of the team falls apart. Tibbers! Wait, hang on. Tibbers is doing so much work, and now Leaf is getting on in. Oh my lord, Leave gets one more. So he lands another W. He does, but Leave has to go back. So Baron secured from EDG. But JDG walk away with a couple of kills as well. How much can they get while these respawns are still down? Ruler doesn't have flash, but he is full HP. Leave doesn't have flash, doesn't have ult, needs to be very careful of a missing combo. He can't even walk up to wave clear because missing, even though he's on this HP, could flash to end the game. JDG, they get one inhib, Solo Kill's alive. If they reach Leave, this could be the end of the game. There we go! No more teleports. Crazy onto missing. Trying to go forwards. Solo Kill just about alive. Leave uses that Zhonya's. They get the kill on the Alistair. They have to back away. Leave, the AD carry, the prodigal son. He's gone. He's come back. He left and then returned. Is 6-0 and 3, 2k up on Ruler, and uses the Zhonya's to extend the game. I think he baited that in. Absolutely wonderful. Can see that missing, was looking for that killer combo, but the Zhonya's stops the end of the game, baits in JDG, who are trying to deny the best part of that Baron buff. I think that missing, stopping Solo Kill, having a good entry is one thing, but you can just see that the damage onto the backline gets so weirdly mixed in this fight. Ruler gets his press the attack procced early, which is good for him, increases his damage, gets away from Solo Kill's ult. He's just wailing on the front line the entire time. He just kind of runs out of targets to hit's the problem for him. Leave, though, very, very strong, and once the engage has gone the other way, it feels like Leave was just about ready to free hit. Leave going over the pit, I thought could have cost him, and then Solo Kill just stands and makes Yagao suffer. I think if Solo Kill had died as well, that could have been a very different end game, but still, the game goes on. Another inhibitor down, though, makes this an odd map stay for EDG nonetheless. And it is. So, grouping up once again. This Kaiser so strong, missing popping the ult early. He has to, and he might just get caught by the equalizer delays. But there's also the locket, which means the equalizer gets very little value at this point of the game. Ocean Soul and that locket mean the equalizer is for nothing. It is just for disengage. They must defend their base, but their wave clear is quite lacking in this comp. Fantastic. Ruler alone really offering safe wave clear. The LeBlanc can step forwards, yeah, but will come at the cost of their own life, it feels like. Wink, Hex flashing over the wall, and the inhibitor now under siege. There it is, and we see ourselves walking towards that bot and inhib. How much can they do with this one? that will be it. That's the end of that push. Nothing more. Full item Kaiser is so scary at this point. And you see,
Soul Boots.
Miora, no, Sam, he is not Soul Boots. This is a Zephyr, Sam. Someone's not read the patch notes. You can upgrade Berserker
I forgot it upgrades. You're right.
My co-caster has not read that you can upgrade Berserker Greaves into Zephyr to be a true 6-item carry. Leave is absolutely monstrous at this point.
I knew that was a thing. I just hadn't seen it yet. You're absolutely right. I was thinking Merc Scimitar. Nope. Zephyr is back. It's an item again. What level? You can only do it as a last thing as well, can't you? You can't do it earlier into the game.
Yes, it's only from level 14 onwards, I believe, at that point. But still, EDG walking in, making sure they use that 6 grub buff so effectively. JDG, remember, they waited so long for their perfect play, but a couple of really boneheaded mistakes back-to-back meant that JDG are really in the dumpster. They have to play so mistake-free now. It's very hard to do from that. Yagao in a side lane. He can walk away and do some ship damage here. Inhibitors do regen over time, but they cannot afford to get caught again beyond this point. Yagao, maybe he can win through side lanes.
Doing his very best to, at the very least. Towards the mid lane we look. Engage from missing, but only onto JJ, who again, the damage isn't there unless they full commit. Poke damage isn't going to work. That's always the threat of the Ocean Soul. You can't sit there and wait for the best angle. You have to look for angles as Cryan went flashing forwards there. Didn't quite find what they were looking for.
We'll see ourselves what will happen in the end of this game. EDG, one of the very worst teams in EDG. For so much of spring, they have taken JDG to the late game. They have been the better team than JDG for the majority of this game, but all it takes is JDG being the better team for about 30 seconds, and maybe that can end out that game. JDG, they're getting teleported on. Solar Kill's going for the flank, but will he be there in time?
It's another one of those flank angles, but he's going to be there in time. You're absolutely right. Yagao, Chuck low on the other side. Solar Kill, finally into the backline. Over the wall goes Yagao. Cannot kill Cryan quite yet. The backline goes. Flandre doing so much damage in the continual fight. Leave still alive. Goes invisible, but Yagao distorts onto his face, and the Kaiser goes back to the void. The Ignite not quite enough to bring down JJ. Can maybe look for the Elder Dragon. That might hold them on, but with 2 inhibitors down and an Elder Dragon, JDG have done it. They were better for the 30 seconds that mattered.
EDG were the better team for what, 40 minutes of this game, but JDG make it work in the clutch. Was it pretty? No. Was it high action and bloody? Also no for most of this game, but JDG make the kills happen where it counts.
They head back towards the tower. The teleports come flying on through. Wink is doing their very best to hold on, but the Elder Dragon will have none of it. The wings go flying, and they will burn one more to the ground. JDG, it ain't pretty, but it's done. They win game 1.
Heartbreak for EDG. Their one death on their Kaiser the entire game is at the point where they lose the game. EDG just couldn't quite find the clean late game team fights towards the end of it. JDG pulled them across the map, and it felt like in a couple of key moments, particularly solo kills, so teleporting away from the team in very important